So as I mentioned before, that Rabbi Megdal had prepared a full sermon for today, but she's not here, so refuah shlema, we hope that she feels better. But luckily, we read the same parsha last year. So this isn't what I taught last year, but it is still this teaching that I have done before 7-8 years ago, something like that, I think is uniquely relevant, or once again relevant, as I was looking over it this morning. So, and it is about leadership and doubt in leadership, and we, I think, are all focused on our leaders in ways. So, Betzalel is the name that keeps coming back, and Betzalel is the one who God tells Moses to go get him to lead the building of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle that will hold the ark, but will also hold all of the rituals that they're doing out on their wanderings. And so it says, this is the verse from the Parsha, this week's Torah reading. And Moses said to the Israelites, "See, the Lord has singled out by name Betzalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. He has endowed him," meaning God has endowed Betzalel, "with the divine spirit of skill, ability, and knowledge in every kind of craft." Okay, so I'm always very taken by this verse. What is this trifecta here of skill, ability, and knowledge? So let's just look at the plain meaning of the text. Rashi, our 11th century commentator, he just describes these words in a particular way. Chokhmah, he says, chokhmah for a leader is a person that learns from another. Sort of the opposite sometimes of what we think a leader should be. A leader should be someone who is bold and brash and will say, "We are doing this," and go set forth in charge. But actually Rashi says, the greatest skill of a leader is to learn from other people, right? It's a different posture than we might have expected. It's certainly a different posture than what seems to be popular in America. And I'm not talking about this administration. I'm talking about in general, right? So many leadership books are about not listening to other people and the humility that takes. It's a different type of characteristic. But Rashi is telling us that Betzalel had the humility to listen and learn from other people. The other trait, Tivunah, is understanding things from his heart, from the things that he has learned. So number one is to learn. The other is to, how do you internalize that? And then bring that forth, right? Someone that needs to be in touch with who they are is a beautiful type of leadership. And the last is da'at, which is kind of the Holy Spirit, divine inspiration, knowledge that comes from beyond. And of course, you'd be lucky if you had da'at, right? Wisdom from God somehow that gave you insight. So that's at the basic level of how the tradition teaches us. But let's unpack this a little bit more. And I credit Nechama Leibowitz's for her work, who is studied extensively, but I think there's something important. This book that this is pulled from was written in 1976. And so her insights of leadership and what she chooses to bring, I think just doesn't stand alone. What was happening in 1967? She's writing this, it's published in 67. Of course, Nixon resigns in 74. And so I think that we have to expect that as she's writing this about leadership in 75, 76, that she has the Watergate and the Nixon experience in mind as she's writing about leadership. So she brings Nachmanides, 13th century. Someone want to read about Betzalel's qualifications here? In English, you can just read it out loud. Someone want to volunteer? Mitchell, please.
The reason why God said, "See, I have called by name," was that the Israelites had been deprived of the opportunity of learning to work in silver and gold and the cutting of precious stone
Great. So Nachmanides is saying that what is amazing about Bezalel is that he had all these traits, but they were just slaves. Right? They had been slaves for 400 years in Egypt, so it's really remarkable how this guy comes out of the experience of slavery. We would expect that he would be really good at building straw bricks, something like that, but in all of this craftsmanship, it's really remarkable. So Nachmanides gives us a context for that. But then what I'm calling cyclical accountability or deferential election, meaning everyone's deferring to everyone else in this next verse. Like who ultimately is accountable is what I'm interested in here. And so this comes from the Talmud, from Brachot. Rabbi Yitzchak says, one may only appoint a leader over a community if he consults with the community and they agree to the appointment. Okay, that makes sense. We like that, right? That the community has to be part of it. It's not a kingship here that we have or that the Israelites have. They agree to the appointment. As it said, Moses said unto the children of Israel, see, the Lord has called by name Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. This is the verse that we keep coming back to. The Lord said to Moses, Moses, is Bezalel a suitable appointment in your eyes? Interesting that God is asking for Moses' buy-in in this. And Moses says to God, Master of the universe, if he is suitable for the appointment in your eyes, then all the more so in my eyes. God, you're God. If you like this guy, I like this guy, because you're God. But the Holy One, blessed be he, says to him, nevertheless, go and tell Israel and ask their opinion. So Moses went and said to Israel, is Bezalel suitable in your eyes? To the Israelites. And they said to him, well, if he's suitable in the eyes of God and in your eyes, Moses, well, then all the more so he's suitable in our eyes. Now, no one ever says, Moses doesn't say to God, well, let me interview him. Let me ask him what he's doing. Let me ask, does he really know what he's doing? What does he think about the designs of the Mishkan? And the Israelites never put any due diligence to this either, right? Everyone is deferring to someone else here. Now, fortunately, they got an incredible architect here, right? But who's really accountable? No one is doing the due diligence of really asking and interrogating in a constructive sense on who this guy is. So, is Israel at fault? Who's at fault? Is anyone at fault here? We often do this in life. Well, if it's good for you, it's good enough for me. Because I assume you have done the interrogation, the questioning. And then actually you find out, well, no one ever asked the hard questions. So I think that she is bringing this as a reminder that we are all responsible to ask the hard questions of our leaders, of our congresspeople, our senators, our officials, and also the officials have a responsibility to interrogate who is above them, right? Because Moses had to ask God, the Israelites had to ask Moses, and everyone is just saying, well, the person above you wanted it, that's good enough for me, right? It's more of a CYA approach than actually getting to the bottom of it. That just means covering your backside. So let's look at a different angle of leadership, which is that there's sort of a nature that doubt in leadership creeps in often. So Midrash Tanhuma says, after Moses descended, he said to the Israelites, the Holy One, blessed be he, told me how to build a sanctuary, an altar, and a table for God. And they asked, well, who will do this? Who's going to actually build it? Bezalel, Moses replied. The Israelites began to complain against Moses, crying out, the Holy One, blessed be he, did not tell Moses that Bezalel would build the sanctuary. Moses made that decision by himself because he's related to him. Moses is king, if you will, and his brother Aaron is the high priest. His sons are officials of the priesthood. Eleazar is chief of the Levites and the sons of Koach and the bearers of the tabernacle. And now this one also is being given authority to build the sanctuary. Moses seeks to elevate himself, or no, Moses seeks to elevate Bezalel by giving Bezalel this great honor. Or maybe it could be read, Moses seeks to elevate Moses' self by giving Bezalel this great honor. All right? This is an unexpected language and doubt of the Israelites. Moses attempted to explain. He said to them, I've done nothing on my own. The Lord, the Holy One, blessed be he, told me what to do. And he showed them the words. See, the Lord has called by name Bezalel, our verse. So the Israelites are picking up on this. What do we call this? When you give jobs to all of your family and friends? Nepotism, right, exactly. Right? Interesting, all the way back to Midrash Tanchuma, they are sensitive to nepotism. And that's a bad thing. Now he's saying that, no, God authorized all these things, but this isn't Moses on himself, but they doubt that. They think, the people are thinking that nepotism is bad, something that you need to be wary of, because you may not be getting the best people for the job. Right? That the criteria for the job may be something other than the true merit that they bring to it. Now, if you're seeing connections, I leave that to you. But she is bringing this in, like I said, in the mid-70s. In 76, her book is published. And I think that she's looking back to her world. And of course, amazingly, these texts that we're looking at are centuries old, and they are looking at their world as well. Thus, when we see the relevance of Judaism for each generation that we're in. And here I bring her own words, Nechama Leibowitz's own words. The public always suspects the intentions of those in office and find fault. Have their suspicious and small-mindedness to be taken into account or to ignore it? Right? Like, depending on how you think. Are they small-minded people that are asking these reasonable questions, or should we just simply ignore it? Our sages teach us that every effort must be made beforehand by a public servant to be above suspicion. Right? That you have to do everything you can because the public perception matters in your ability to lead. Right? In your ability for people to follow, they have to believe that you are above reproach. At least that was the paradigm. Right? And so Midrash Tanchuma says Moses kept careful accounting of the tabernacle costs. Right? He's got all of this money that's moving through, all this gold and jewels and everything that is coming through, and Moses wants to keep account of it because he, again, wants to be above suspicion. This was because the scorners of his time gossiped about him. They said, and it came to pass when Moses went out to the tent, that all the people rose up and stood, every man at his tent door, and looked at Moses. And what did they say? They looked at Moses' back and said to each other, meaning literally behind his back, they were talking about him, what a neck, what legs. I don't think they were talking about actually. They were talking about the adornment, I believe. So what a neck, what legs. Moses eats of all that which is ours and drinks all that which is ours. And the others replied, fool, a man who is in charge of the works of the tabernacle, talents of silver, talents of gold, uncounted, unweighed, unnumbered. What do you expect? That he should not be rich? When Moses heard this, he said, by your lives, as soon as the work of the tabernacle is completed, I shall render an accounting. They're like, Moses, you look a little heavier. You're eating a little too well. You're dressing a little bit nicer than you used to dress. And they're saying that that's because you're skimming off the top. Can you believe it that the Israelites are accusing Moses of this or raising this up, that the rabbis are inserting this into the human nature that they see? It's remarkable. And I think beautiful that they understand human nature, that they're worried about it because Moses is the one that has the power, not the Israelites. And so they believe that it is human nature to kind of look out for yourself, to look out for your family. But Moses' active leadership is that he is doing a full accounting, full transparency, and he's actually following through on it. So there really is, in this last text, the perception of appropriateness that is so important. And it is this last text that I think is really the standard that we should hold ourselves to. So in the Talmud, and again, I just want to emphasize this point, these texts that we're looking at are centuries old. And it was important in their time, and it's important in our time. So the house of Garmu were experts in the making of showbread, but never was fine bread found in the hands of their children. Least people should say they grow fat from the preparation of the showbread. This is a bread that was offered for sacrifices. As is stated, you shall be guiltless before the Lord and before Israel, right? They are the bakers of this very sacred bread, but they never even ate bread in their own home because they wanted to be clear that they were not skimming off of the top. Or the next one, our rabbis taught the house of Avtinas were expert in the preparing of incense, but never did a bride of theirs go forth perfumed. Right? These are the experts of all of the incense, all of the smells, all of the things that happen within the ritual, and they never let anyone in their house be perfumed. When they married outside the family, they would make it a condition that the bride would not use perfume, lest people say they perfume themselves with the incense intended for the tabernacle. As it stated, you shall be guiltless before the Lord and before Israel. They are so worried of the perception of misappropriating funds and resources and knowledge that the perfumers never perfumed, that the bakers never ate bread. I think that is the standard that we need to have in all of the spheres of influence that we work in and operate in. That even the perception of inappropriateness is dangerous. And so let's hold ourselves, each other, and our officials to a higher standard, simply the standard of the Talmud. I think that if we could trust and regain trust in each other, that then we could then do the hard work of building communities that are resilient, interconnected, and really doing the work that we need to do together. Shabbat Shalom.